The next thing we'll talk about is reflections. So reflection is a mirror image of the graph over the y or x axis. Alright, reflecting over the y-axis takes opposite of the x value, whereas reflecting over the x-axis takes opposite of the y value. If you need to look at an actual graph to envision this, reflecting over the y-axis, take your hand, put it on the right side of the y-axis. Think about when you reflect to the left side, you're changing your x values from positive to negative. Whereas reflecting over the x-axis, if your hand's on the top of the x-axis and you flip over that, your y values go from positive y's to negative y's. So if you ever forget, you can kind of do that hand trick. So reflection over the y-axis. Sometimes you'll see this written as r sub y. So this affects the x-coordinate. We're just changing the x-coordinates from positive to negative or from negative to positive, depending on what they start as. Reflection over the x-axis, again, can be written as r sub x, and this affects our y-coordinates. So our y values will change signs. Alright, and this is going to be very much like our translations. When we have a negative side inside the function, that's when we're going to change our x values. Whereas the negative sign outside of the function affects our y values. And you'll notice the difference. In this one we have a negative inside our parentheses, versus here our negative is outside of the function. Alright, so if we look at some practice, if we're given the function f of 1 equals negative 2, again remember that's just the same thing as f of x equals y. So this is the point. X is 1, y is negative 2. Alright, so we're trying to find f of negative x plus 3. So there's a couple things happening here. First of all, we have a negative inside the parentheses, but we also have the plus 3. Remember when we talked about order of transformations or translations? We're always going to shift left and right first. So first, we're going to say this graph is moving left 3 units. And then we can do the reflection. And then it's going to be reflecting over, and now we have to decide if it's the x-axis or y-axis. Well, it's inside the function, so it's making my x's change signs. So if the x values are changing signs, we're reflecting over the y-axis. So our resulting point, we're starting at 1, negative 2. First we'll go left 3. So our x value will move left 3, so starting at 1, we'll now be at a negative 2. Our y value stays at the negative 2. And then reflecting over the y-axis, we're going to change the sign of our x value. So instead of a negative 2, it's now a positive 2. And if you were to actually look at the graph and take that point, 1, negative 2, move it left 3 units, then reflect it over the y-axis, you'll end up at 2, negative 2. Alright, so we'll try reversing the order of transformations. So let's try reflecting first. Let's do it in a different order. And then we'll go left 3. So I'll take that point 1, negative 2, reflect over the y-axis, so we'll make my x from a positive 1 to a negative 1. My y stays the same. Then shift left 3 units. So from negative 1 I go to negative 4. My y is still staying the same. Notice that's a very different point than the one we got up here. So the order of transformations is extremely important. Always move left and right first, no matter what.